Streetlights bleed on cobblestone. Another deed, another throne. Whispers in the dark, a silent creed. Seeds of power, planted by greed. The city sleeps, but we're wide awake. For every promise, a soul to take.
The first years of Prohibition, how crime took control, 1920-1923. In January 1920, the United States did something unprecedented. It did not declare war on another country. It did not face a natural disaster. It did not collapse economically. Instead, it declared war on alcohol. On January 17, 1920, the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution went into effect. The manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages became illegal across the entire country. Supporters believed Prohibition would save America. They believed it would reduce crime, strengthen families, and improve morality. What they did not understand was this: they were not banning alcohol, they were banning control. And in the vacuum left behind, organized crime stepped in. Before Prohibition, alcohol was deeply woven into American life. Beer halls, saloons, and taverns existed in nearly every town. Immigrant communities, Irish, German, Italian, Eastern European, treated alcohol as part of daily culture, not vice. In 1910, the United States had over 200,000 legal drinking establishments. Alcohol was regulated, taxed, visible. Crime existed, but it was fragmented. Small gangs, local corruption, no national criminal structure. Prohibition would change that overnight. The Volstead Act, which enforced the 18th Amendment, defined intoxicating liquor as anything over 0.5% alcohol. This meant beer was illegal, wine was illegal, whiskey was illegal. But demand did not disappear. In fact, demand increased. Within weeks, Americans began looking for alcohol, and criminals began supplying it. The law created an economic opportunity larger than anything the underworld had ever seen. At first, bootlegging was chaotic. Small-time criminals stole alcohol from warehouses. Pharmacists exploited loopholes allowing medicinal whiskey. Farmers produced moonshine in rural areas. But chaos doesn't last long when money is involved. Canadian whiskey crossed the northern border. Rum arrived by ship from the Caribbean. Industrial alcohol was stolen and redistilled. Secret breweries appeared inside cities. Alcohol became the most profitable illegal product in American history. And whoever controlled alcohol controlled the streets. Italian criminal groups had a critical advantage. They already understood secrecy, loyalty, intimidation, territorial control. They had operated in environments where the state was weak before. Prohibition did not create the Mafia, it activated it. In cities like New York, Chicago, and Philadelphia, Italian gangs moved quickly, buying trucks, bribing officials, recruiting muscle, and eliminating rivals. What had once been neighborhood crime became industrial-scale enterprise. New York City became the heart of the Prohibition underworld. Different ethnic groups initially competed. Irish gangs controlled ports and docks. Jewish gangs specialized in distribution. Italian gangs focused on structure and enforcement. Violence was common, but alliances were fluid. By 1921, Italian crime leaders began consolidating power. Neighborhood bosses transformed into citywide figures. Territories were drawn. Protection rackets expanded. Alcohol profits funded weapons, lawyers, and political influence. The underworld was no longer underground. It was embedded. While New York was complex, Chicago was brutal. Prohibition turned Chicago into a war zone. Bootlegging routes from Canada fed the city with alcohol, and control of distribution meant absolute power. Street gangs fought openly, shootings became public events. Police forces were overwhelmed and often corrupt. By the early 1920s, organized crime in Chicago was earning tens of millions of dollars a year. The city became a laboratory for violence, corruption, and unchecked criminal power. Prohibition enforcement was doomed from the start. Federal agents were underpaid, understaffed, inexperienced. Many earned less than the criminals they were supposed to stop. Bribes became common. Entire police units were compromised. Courts were flooded with cases. Juries refused to convict neighbors. Politicians quietly benefited from bootlegging money. The law existed on paper. On the streets, it barely existed at all. As profits grew, so did violence. Disputes were no longer personal, they were commercial. Who controlled a dock? Who controlled a warehouse? Who controlled a neighborhood? The answer was settled with guns. Between 1920 and 1923, murder rates in major cities increased dramatically. America had not eliminated crime, it had professionalized it. By the early 1920s, a new figure emerged. The businessman criminal. He wore suits, he kept records, he negotiated alliances. He avoided unnecessary violence, but used it decisively. This generation did not romanticize crime. They optimized it. These men would soon reshape organized crime entirely. By 1923, it was clear. Prohibition was not working. Alcohol was everywhere. Crime was richer than ever. The underworld was organized, armed, and disciplined. What had begun as a moral reform had become the single greatest recruitment tool in criminal history. And the Mafia was only getting started. The bloodiest years, the great gang wars, and the rise of legendary figures were still ahead. The first years of Prohibition did not create chaos by accident. They created opportunity for men who understood power, loyalty, and fear better than the law ever did. In the next episode, we will follow that opportunity as it explodes into full-scale war, with names that would soon become infamous.
From old world charm to new world might, we own the shadows, we own the night.